IRA Live Q&A. We're excited to have you here with us today, and we look forward to answering your questions, both pre-submitted and from our live chat. If you have any questions at all, you can go ahead and type them up on the right-hand side of your screen in our live chat box. My name is Leah with Sense Financial, and we are a boutique financial firm specializing in self-directed retirement accounts with checkbook control. I am here today with Brett, who will be answering your questions. Brett is a sole 401k and SD IRA consultant here at Sense Financial. He has a professional journey spanning over 18 years in real estate investing. Brett is also a licensed California real estate agent, and his passion lies in empowering people to attain financial independence, affording them the possibility of an early retirement. Welcome, Brett, and thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you, everybody, for joining as well. We appreciate it. Hope to get to some really good questions today. We have a fair amount of pre-submitted ones, but as always, we're looking forward to answering any live questions that come up throughout the call, or if you do happen to have a question right now, just go ahead and type it in. No need to wait, and we will get to them. The first question, and it looks like I might have lost Leah, so I'll just roll. The first question is from Robert. For my solo 401k, what is my obligation to get appraisals on LLCs owned? Is it okay to use value provided by the syndicator? Well, Robert, it depends on what it is you're getting the value for. If it's the Form 5500 annual valuation, which is typically due at the end of July, actually, it's due the end of the 7th month after the plan year ends. And most solo 401k plans end their year on December 31st. Therefore, the end of July is typically the due date. Sometimes there's a different date on the solo 401k, but usually not. So if you're talking about the 5500, the valuation, since this is not a taxable event, you're okay to just use either the principal investment amount or what's reported on the K1s. Talk to your CPA to verify if you are concerned about this, but it's not a taxable event. Now, if this is a taxable event, i.e. a distribution of the asset to yourself or a Roth conversion, then you do need to get an actual third-party appraisal valuation report that you would keep on file for in case the IRS comes knocking. But for the 5500, it's not necessary. All right. Hope that answers your question, Robert. Thank you for that. And then Leah, are you there?
Yes, our next
Okay.
question is from Jacqueline. She's asking, can a sole 401k hold mortgage notes?
Oh, great question. Actually, yeah, Jacqueline, that is probably the second most common investment our clients are doing inside their IRA or their 401k, and mortgage notes are 100% allowed. The most common investment is probably owning real estate, although our clients have checkbook control. So with that, we don't necessarily have insight on the investments they're making unless they come to us with questions. But it just seems like most of the questions come around real estate actually being owned by the plan. And then second most would be mortgage notes. But yeah, 100% the solo 401k can hold mortgage notes.
Our next question is from Jody. Jody asks, I own various companies. I would like to move the ownership of the solo 401k trust from the current company to a different company. How difficult is this, and what flags, if any, would it raise at the IRS?
Yeah, Jody, thanks for the question. So first of all, the solo 401k can be adopted by any company that you own, which means if for some reason you're moving the adoption from one company to another, that's fine. We can amend the plan to reflect a new adopting business. This is not a red flag or even close to it with the IRS. This happens all the time. Similar to you going from one employer to another and then participating in their 401k plan. It's almost the same thing, except in this situation, obviously, it's the same 401k plan that's just being moved from the adoption under one employer to another employer. So not a problem. I recommend you talk to your tax advisor about this before you move forward with it, in the sense of maybe there's a way to structure your businesses, assuming the initial adopting business is not just going away, so that you can have maybe more than one stream of income that's participating in the same 401k plan. And feel free to book a call with us offline so we can talk through your specific situation. But changing the adopting business is not in any way, shape, or form going to cause a red flag with the IRS or any other issue. Other than, last point, other than the if the business is changing from a tax filing standpoint, like single member LLC, sole prop to S corp, that's obviously going to change the way the contributions work. But other than that, none of this is going to raise any flags with the IRS.
Our next question is from Cheryl. Does the LLC that's holding the SEP IRA have to file a tax return when distributions are made?
Cheryl, thanks for the question. We don't do SEP IRAs here at Sense Financial. However, the SEP IRA works in a very similar manner as the checkbook IRA and solo 401k in a lot of ways. But the question is, does the LLC that's holding the SEP IRA? So I'm not sure the question is accurate, because the SEP IRA could be, I assume you mean your LLC is in your business that is sponsoring the SEP, the self-employment pension. That's what SEP stands for. I assume that's what you're asking about. Does the LLC that's filing or that's holding the SEP or sponsoring the SEP, so to speak, have to file a tax return when distributions are made? If you're taking a distribution from a retirement account, that 1099, that income is being reported on your personal 1040. So the answer to your question, if I'm understanding it correctly, is no, it does not.
Corolla is asking, what are all the things that you can invest in with your solo 401k or solo IRA?
Yeah, great question, Corolla. Appreciate it. First of all, it's impossible to create an exhaustive list, because there's just too many investment options out there. As many people as there are, and as creative as people can get, are as many options as there are. So virtually unlimited. The IRS only tells you what you cannot invest in. In a solo 401k, that is S corporation stock, because you must be a person to be part of an S corporation. And don't misunderstand me, an S corporation can adopt a solo 401k plan. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what the solo 401k plan can invest into. Okay, so S corp stock, collectibles, and then life insurance in an IRA, and of course, the plan cannot transact with you or your immediate family because you're disqualified parties. That would be a prohibited transaction. So outside of those things, again, S corp stock, collectibles, and life insurance in an IRA, the sky is the limit. Now, these plans are designed to be invested passively. So if you get into them running or owning an active business or conducting active business, like flipping a ton of real estate or owning Buffalo Wild Wings, it's not a passive investment, then you're going to trigger an unrelated business income tax that the plan is going to have to pay.
The next question is from Gloria. She's asking, when is the Form 5500 due, and what happens if you forget to do it?
Oh yeah, great question. And I think I covered when it's due earlier, the end of the 7th month, typically the end of July. Unless you're terminating a plan, then you need to file a final Form 5500, whether you filed it in the past or not, when you terminate. So that would not be due at the end of the 7th month after the plan year ends, because that's a specific situation tied to a termination of your solo 401k. But annually, the end of July is typically the answer to that question. And then if you forget to do it and you're late, the IRS can tack on a penalty of up to $250 per day. not to exceed a total of $150,000. So the penalties are very draconian, if you will. So don't be late. Now, there is a process you can go through to uh, request a stay of execution, if you will, to request a waiver of the penalties. And my understanding in talking to people who have gone through this is that there's a pretty high success rate with getting that accepted. But I recommend you don't put yourself in that situation to have to request it.
Randy is asking if you have a sole 401k through Sense Financial, can you add other traditional IRA money that you have at another institution to the amount that you have at Sense Financial so that all of it is in one place?
Great question, Randy. So when it comes to rolling in existing retirement funds to a 401k, the only exception is the Roth IRA. That's the only type of retirement funds that cannot move into a 401k. Roth 401k, um, you know, Roth 403b, those are okay to roll into directly, no taxes or penalties, into a 401k. All right. So traditional IRA, to answer your question, can absolutely roll into your 401k, just not Roth IRA. In fact, we have a lot of clients who consolidate all these plans they have into one solo 401k because it accepts all those different types of funds, again, with the exception of the Roth IRA. If somebody wants to self direct a Roth IRA, the only option is a self directed Roth IRA.
Our next question is from Carl. Will I have to terminate my sole 401k plan when I retire?
Well, Carl, yes, you will if you are no longer going to maintain any self employment activity. If you're a sole proprietor and you're not terminating a an LLC or a corporation of any sort, then it's easier, of course, to maintain some self-employment activity as a sole proprietor because you're simply filing a Schedule C. But yeah, if you officially retire and you have no more legitimate self-employment activity, then you will need to terminate the plan. And let me talk a little more about that. When you terminate the plan, you have two options. You have three options. One, you can distribute all the assets to yourself. Okay. Obviously, if that's traditional, there's going to be taxes. If it's Roth, there's no taxes, assuming you're over 59 and a half in both situations and you've had the Roth for at least 5 years. The other option, so that's option one, distribute everything. The other option is roll everything into an IRA. And then underneath that, there's two options, right? Because you have a self-directed IRA. So if you want to continue to invest in non-Wall Street assets like real estate, precious metals, private lending, et cetera, then you need a self-directed IRA. If you want to just go back into Wall Street, then you can just go to Vanguard or Fidelity or Schwab or wherever and roll the cash from the solo 401k into that IRA. And the caveat is if you have, because a solo 401k has a Roth component and a traditional pre-tax component built into it. So if you have Roth and traditional funds in the solo 401k, you're talking about rolling into two separate IRAs, one Roth, one traditional. Doesn't matter if it's self-directed or not. You could have the self-directed Roth IRA and the regular, more traditional style IRA at Vanguard that's just investing in the stock market. It's completely up to you. Obviously, doing that rollover from the 401k to an IRA is a non-taxable, no penalty type of event. But essentially, those are your options.
Carl is also asking, I have planned investments at Charles Schwab, and I also have a small IRA from years ago. I would like to merge them. Can I merge the IRA into the 401k plan account?
Well, I think I addressed that, Leah, in the previous question or two. But yeah, absolutely. You can roll traditional, as long as it's traditional IRA funds, they can roll into the 401k. And if, assuming you're one of our clients, Carl, you are the plan administrator, so you initiate that rollover yourself. You go through the process of sending the rollover request to the current custodian for that IRA or going using their form. Check with them first. If they want you to use their rollover form, use it. If not, we have one in our client portal that you can provide them, and then they'll send you a check and you can deposit it into the account. Now, if you're going to stay at Charles Schwab, assuming you have a non-custodial brokerage account at Charles Schwab for your solo 401k, it is possible, talk to Schwab about this, but it is possible that they can directly transfer the IRA funds into the solo 401k non-custodial account, but it still has to be processed as a direct rollover to avoid any sort of accidental distribution, 1099, commingling money you shouldn't commingle, and that sort of thing, because they are two separate accounts. One is non-custodial in the name of your solo 401k that we provided at Sense Financial, and one is an IRA that Schwab provided. So just go through the proper channels, and we do have very clear instructions on this on our client portal under the setup drop-down menu, and then step 3, rollover.
Thank you, Brad. Those were our pre-submitted questions, and now for our live question, we do have a question from Jacqueline. Jacqueline is asking, can I personally fund a non-recourse loan to my solo 401k to cover additional expenses?
Can I personally fund a non-recourse loan to my solo 401k to cover additional expenses? Well, okay, so Jacqueline, you and your immediate family, this is you and your spouse, your children, their spouses, your parents, and your grandparents, are all disqualified parties to the retirement account. Okay, solo 401k, IRA, same rules. So the short answer is no. You cannot transact with your 401k in any way, neither can any of those other disqualified parties. And the other answer is you cannot provide a loan. The only way to do this is to make a contribution to the 401k from the sponsoring business, or roll over existing retirement funds. Again, Roth IRA cannot move in, and usually current employer sponsored 401ks, 403bs, et cetera, unless you're over 59 and a half, or they will allow some type of in-service rollover, meaning you stay employed there and they let you roll some of the funds out. Short of that, there's no way for you to get money into the solo 401k. The non-recourse loan, any money the 401k borrows must be third-party arm's length from you and your immediate family, period. So sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but no, that would not work.
All right, so far that wraps up all of the questions that we have today. Anything that you would like to add, Brad, before we wrap up our session?
If anybody has questions, I just want to remind them about our client portal. If you're a client of ours, a solo 401k client, you have access to our client portal, and we have our knowledge base in there, which you can search by keyword and find the answer to almost any question that you have. Of course, we love doing these. We love providing this value and this content. So don't stop submitting questions to us and registering for these calls, and reach out to our office. Of course, we offer unlimited client support. We want you to ask us questions before doing something that would potentially cause an issue for you or your plan. So reach out to us first. But no, other than that, let's give it another minute or so. Leah, before we cut this out, kind of a shorter call today because we didn't have as many pre-submitted questions as we normally do. But yeah, there's a bunch of people on this call, so let's see if anyone thinks of a question that they want to get answered and types it in. Otherwise, we'll wrap this up in about 60 seconds here. Incidentally, I will promote another webinar that I am hosting. Let me just make sure I get the date right. On February 19th, we are going to have guests speaking about private lending. They'll talk more about this in detail, but essentially they raise money to invest in a mortgage fund, and this mortgage fund actually focuses on loans that are in the Midwest primarily, where the loan amount is actually much lower, like the individual loan amount, and you as an investor would not necessarily worry about the individual loans because your money is being pooled into this debt fund with a bunch of other investors' money, and then that company that's providing that opportunity for you or for the investors is actually conducting the individual loans. And the loans might be around $100,000, which is not a lot of money for each loan, sometimes even less. But when the loan amount is lower, the interest rates tend to be higher. And because of this, and because they're primarily operating in the markets where most investors actually don't bother with because the loan amounts are so low, they're able to command a higher interest rate, more points, and so they're able to get their investors a much higher return as a result. So in our latest newsletter that went out last week, I think it was Thursday or Friday, which everybody who's in our system, potentially on this call, should have received. If you scroll to the bottom of that email, there's a registration link for that, and you can register for it. Again, that webinar will be on February 19th at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So check it out. It's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. And Leah, it looks like nobody else has any more questions, so we can probably just wrap it up a little earlier than normal. Everybody, wait, Gustavo, he saved the day for everybody and came up with a question. Let's see. Now Carl's got a question too. Okay, let's go. All right, Gustavo's asking, the forms you provide on your website to keep track of transactions are very helpful. Can we create our own ones if the ones you provide don't meet our needs? Gustavo, thank you for that feedback. We aim to provide everything needed to administer as the plan administrator, to maintain and administer the plan 100%. Create your own if you want. Absolutely, not a problem. And then Carl's asking, go ahead, Leah.
Yes, Carl is asking, I have a soul for case self-directed. Since the documents, I turned 73 this year and I will have to begin the RMDs. I am still self-employed and making income. I can continue to make contributions that would essentially offset the RMD.
Yeah, that sounds logical to me. Obviously, Carl, thank you for being a client of ours, but check with your tax advisor just to make sure that all lines up. But yeah, definitely plan for RMDs accordingly. You're turning 73 this year, so hopefully you have enough cash inside the plan to satisfy the RMDs. If not, you can liquidate some of the assets or contribute or distribute assets to yourself as well to satisfy RMD. But yeah, you can still contribute if you're self-employed, not a problem. Good question, good point.
All right, and I think that wraps up all of the questions that we have for today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and thank you, Brad, for answering all of those questions. We are excited to have you for our next webinar. Please tune in. And in case you haven't heard of Brad earlier, we do have a webinar coming up this week and next week, so be on the lookout for email newsletters. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.